A woman's heart is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a flame to be danced with, a storm to be walked through, and a temple to be humbled before And if you truly want her love, not just her attention, not just her body, not just her time, but her soul, you must understand this one truth: she will only love you if you dare to break her, not in the way the world understands a breaking, not through cruelty, manipulation, or betrayal, No, this is not the breaking of harm. This is the breaking of illusion. You see, so many men chase love with trembling hands, offering surface-level affection to a woman carved from the depths. She doesn't want your perfection. She wants your power, your stillness, your willingness to awaken her through the raw, beautiful, sacred fire of truth. Because deep within every powerful woman is a guarded fortress built brick by brick from years of betrayal, abandonment, and fear. Abandonment and fear. She doesn't trust easily, not because she's cold, but because she feels everything. She feels what you don't say. She hears the silence behind your compliments. She sees the fear behind your desire. And if you come to her with empty hands and softer lies, you may hold her body, but never her soul. Body, but never her soul. To truly earn her love, you must be the man who doesn't try to please her, but dares to challenge her. You must be the mirror that shatters her illusions, that tears apart the story she's told herself about men, about love, and about who she must pretend to be to feel safe. Safe. This is the sacred break, not of destruction, but of revelation. It is the moment when you stop chasing her validation and start embodying your truth, even when she resists it, even when she fights it, even when it burns everything she thought she wanted. Burns everything she thought she wanted. Because a real woman, a conscious woman, a divine feminine woman, she doesn't fall in love with comfort. She falls in love with awakening. She falls in love with the man who is brave enough to confront her ego, to break through her defenses, to strip away her masks, and to love what remains. Her truth, her nakedness, her soul. But make no mistake, this path is not for the weak-hearted. This kind of love demands everything from you. It will test your patience, your peace, your power. You must become the storm and the shelter, the fire and the calm, the sword and the silence, Isir and the silence. And when you show her that you will no longer entertain her drama, no longer chase her mood swings, no longer participate in her emotional games, when you stand rooted in truth, even if it means walking away, that's when she feels you. That's when she breaks and awakens. Not because you hurt her, but because you refused to let her hide. You shattered her cage and reminded her what it means to be seen fully, deeply, brutally, beautifully. It's not about control. It's about conscious disruption. It's about disrupting the patterns that keep her small and choosing truth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, love over lust. So if you're still wondering what it means to break her, it means you hold up a mirror and say, I see you, and I won't let you lie to yourself anymore. It means you walk away when she tests you, not to punish her, but to show her your soul cannot be bought by neediness, chaos, or manipulation. And when you do, when you crack her shell not with violence, but with presence, she will finally let go. She will finally fall, not just for your charm, not just for your touch, but for the fire in you that dared to set her free. Because that's what love is. It's not comfort. It's freedom. It's freedom. And the woman who has tasted the power of her own freedom will only bow to the man who had the courage to break her and the strength to hold what poured out. Now, if you want to go deeper, there are 6 truths you must know. Pillars of awakening, sacred keys that shift the entire game. 1. She doesn't want to be pleased. She wants to be pierced. You've been taught to be nice, to be agreeable, to smile, to nod, to hold doors, to compliment her dress and ask her how her day was. And while there's nothing wrong with kindness, you must understand this. A woman does not surrender to nice. She surrenders to depth, to presence, to truth so sharp it slices through the illusions she's hidden behind her whole life. She doesn't want to be worshipped like a delicate flower. She wants to be seen like the storm she is and still chosen. Not coddled, not tamed, but cracked open by a man who is not afraid of her fire. Do you know what it means to pierce a woman's soul? It's not in your hands or your looks or your money. It's not in the gifts you buy or the words you recite. It's in your energy. It's in the way your silence speaks louder than her fears. It's in the way you look her in the eyes, not just to admire, but to enter. You don't get into her heart by playing it safe. You get there by showing her that her chaos doesn't scare you. Her shadows don't repel you. Her strength doesn't scare you. Her strength doesn't emasculate you. She wants to feel a man who doesn't fold under her moods. She wants to feel your groundedness like a mountain that doesn't move when the wind howls. And when she throws her tests at you, when she questions your love, when she pulls away just to see if you'll chase, she's not looking to be pleased. She's begging to be met, to be pierced through the veil of her doubt by the sword of your unwavering presence. When you stop trying to make her comfortable and instead bring her truth, even when it shakes her, even when she resists it, that's when she feels you. Yeah. That's when she realizes this man isn't here to please her. He's here to awaken her. Because pleasing her touches her surface, but piercing her sets her free. It releases the wild, sacred, feminine force within her that's been begging to be unlocked, not by someone who plays it safe, but by a warrior who dares to go all the way in. And when you do, when your truth becomes sharper than her fear, when your love becomes stronger than her fear, when your love becomes stronger than her war, when your gaze becomes the mirror that reflects her soul instead of her mask, she will no longer want your efforts. She will crave your essence. She will fall, not because you pleased her, but because you pierced her. And only then will her heart truly belong to you. 2. Stop chasing her emotions. Lead her through them. A woman's emotions are not a map. They are a storm. They shift, swirl, crash, rise, and collapse in a single breath. One moment she's soft as silk. The next, she's fire and fury. And most men, they panic. They chase her moods like scattered leaves in the wind, trying to fix, trying to calm, trying to appease. But let me tell you something eternal and unshakable. She doesn't need you to chase her chaos. She needs you to lead her through it. Because when you run after her emotion, you make it the king. You say, your feeling is bigger than my presence. And the moment she senses that you are now reacting to her storm, she loses trust in your leadership. She doesn't want a man who trembles every time she raises her voice. She doesn't want a man who fumbles when she cries, or who apologizes just to end the tension. She wants a man who stays rooted even when the winds of her soul rage without reason. You see, she's not testing your love. She's testing your love. She's testing your center. She wants to know, can he still see me even when I can't see myself? Will he still hold me even when I'm trying to push him away? Because the feminine doesn't want control. It wants to surrender. But it cannot surrender to a man who keeps chasing, fixing, or fearing its wildness. You don't lead her by overpowering her. You lead her by holding space for everything she feels without drowning in it yourself. When she's emotional, breathe. When she attacks, stand tall. When she spirals into doubt, look into her eyes and say without flinching, I see you, without flinching. I see you. I'm not leaving, but I'm not shrinking either. That's power. So that's masculine energy. Not aggression, not force, but unshakable stillness. And in that stillness, her nervous system relaxes, her heart softens, her wild calms. Not because you suppressed her, but because you anchored her. Stop trying to make her happy. She doesn't want a clown. She wants a king, a man who doesn't dance for her emotions, but invites them to dance around him. That's leadership. That's love without fear. There, And when you stop chasing her emotions and start leading her through them, she will trust you. She will open to you. She will finally rest in you. Rest in you. You. Because she no longer has to be the strong one. She no longer has to fight for control. She no longer has to test you because she's already found you. Found you. The man who doesn't run. The man who doesn't chase. The man who doesn't lose himself in her waves, but guides her safely through them. He doesn't need to beg for love. He becomes irresistible to it. 3. Break the pedestal. Love the woman, not the fantasy. You say you love her. You say she's everything. Your queen, your muse, your dream. Your muse, your dream. You place her on a pedestal, high above the clouds, untouched, divine, flawless in your eyes. But let me speak truth to your illusion. She was never meant to live on that pedestal. And if you truly want her love, you must be willing to break it. Because the moment you put her up there, you stop seeing her. You fall in love with the image of her, not the reality of her. You fall for what she represents, not for who she is. You love the goddess, but do you love the goddess? But do you love the girl who doubts herself at night? You praise her light, but can you hold her when her shadows rise? You adore her beauty, but can you stand beside her when she's broken, exhausted, and raw? The fantasy is easy to love. She's soft, obedient, always glowing. She doesn't test you. She doesn't cry. She doesn't cry. She doesn't question. But the real woman, she bleeds. She fears. She challenges. She rises and falls. She builds and destroys. She runs and returns. And she's waiting for a man who can love both. Not just the divine, but the deeply human. Because when you put her on a pedestal, you put yourself beneath her. You start performing. You stop bleeding. You try to earn her love instead of standing in your truth and inviting her into it. And worse, you make her feel like she can't be real with you. She can't break down. She can't break down. She can't make mistakes. She can't be messy, angry, chaotic, or afraid. Because you've fallen in love with her mask, and she knows, even if you don't, that masks eventually crack. And when they do, so does the illusion you built. But if you're brave enough to break that pedestal, you will meet someone far more powerful than any fantasy you could have dreamed. You'll meet her, not the idea of her, not the version that makes you feel safe and wanted, but the woman with scars and stories, with rage and softness, with wounds and wisdom. And when she sees that you no longer worship her image, but instead honor her reality, she will breathe. She will breathe. She will soften. She will trust, because now she doesn't have to perform either. Now she can be all of her, wild, imperfect, divine, and know that you're not going anywhere. That's where real love begins. Not above the clouds, but in the fire. Not in fantasy, but in the raw, untamed truth, but in the raw, untamed truth. So stop falling in love with the dream of her and start standing in front of the storm that is her and say with your whole soul, I don't need you to be perfect. I just want you to be real. That's not weakness. That's not weakness. That's worship. Not of her image, but of her essence. The woman who is waiting not to be adored like a goddess, but to be held like a woman. Your silence must be stronger than her noise. There will come a moment, maybe in the middle of an argument, maybe when she's drowning in her own emotions, maybe when she looks at you with fire in her eyes and says something meant to shake you, when everything inside her is chaos, and most men, they panic, they defend, Hara, they defend. They raise their voice, they argue, explain, justify, react. But hear this and let it etch itself into your soul. A woman doesn't trust a man because he speaks loudly. She trusts the man whose silence is louder than her storm. Because when she's spiraling, she's not looking for a sparring partner. She's searching for a container. She's searching for something stronger than her own inner noise. Something that doesn't bend under pressure. Someone that doesn't flinch when she rages, cries, accuses, doubts, or pulls away. That something is you, but not the reactive you, Not the egoic you, not the boy who needs to be right. The man whose silence is not absence, but presence. Not the silence of retreat. Not the silence of shutting down, but the sacred silence of stillness. Stillness, a silence that says, I'm here, I hear you, but I'm not going to get pulled into the fire, because I am the ground beneath it. That silence is strength. It's control. It's power, not over her, but over yourself. Because what she really wants to know is this. Can I lose myself in front of you and still be safe? Can I scream, cry, doubt, unravel, and you won't disappear? Cone, I throw every piece of noise I have at you, and you won't break. When she's loud, you don't need to overpower her. Ha. When she's loud, you don't need to overpower her. You don't need to match her fire with fire. You simply hold the flame. You become the space where it burns without fear. And when you do that, when you don't react, don't run, don't crumble, you give her the gift she's truly craving. Safety, because silence is not empty. Silence is not empty. Silence is a message. It says, you're allowed to feel, you're allowed to break, you're allowed to scream, but I won't disappear. I won't fight you, and I won't fear you, and I won't fear you. And slowly, as the chaos winds down, as her voice fades, as her breath slows, she begins to feel something deeper than words. Trust. Pete. She trusts you not because you fixed her feelings, but because you didn't fear them. She trusts you not because you silenced her, but because your presence made her noise fall silent on its own. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she softens for. That's the man she gives herself to completely, because she knows he doesn't move with the wind. He doesn't dance with the drama. He holds the storm and lets it pass. So when her noise rises, do not fight it. Do not fight it. Do not fix it. Do not feed it. Out silence. The chaos become clarity. The fear become love. All because you had the power to stand still while the world inside her collapsed, and reminded her, you are the ground beneath her trembling soul. 5. Don't try to win her heart. Dare to challenge it. Dare to challenge it. You've been told if you want her love, win her over, be the nice guy, be the safe choice, give her what she wants. So you chase. You flatter. You adjust yourself to fit her desires, her moods, her expectations. For moods, her expectation. But let me awaken something ancient within you. A woman's heart is not a trophy to be won. It's a throne to be earned through fire. And no king ever earned a throne by begging for it. She doesn't want a man who proves himself. She wants a man who reminds her through every breath, every boundary, every moment of truth, what it means to be with someone who doesn't need her validation to feel worthy. When you try to win her heart, you put it above you. See, you place her power at the center of your life, and in doing so, you lose your own. She doesn't want to be your reason or existing. She wants to join a man who already knows who he is. She wants to look at you and feel, not neediness, not desperation, not to pick me, please, but certainty, conviction, that holy flame in your chest that says, I love you, but I will not betray myself for you. That's what challenges her. For you, that's what challenges her. Not your words, but your willingness to walk in truth, even if she resists it, even if she pulls away, even if it costs you her approval in the moment. Because the truth is this, the feminine doesn't fall for comfort. She falls for a man who is a mirror to her soul. And sometimes, the soul doesn't want to be soothed. It wants to be shaken. A man who challenges her is a man who won't tolerate her excuses. He calls out her patterns, not to shame her, but to free her. To free her. He doesn't nod along with her pain. He holds her higher than her trauma. And when she tests him, when she throws her chaos at him, pulls away to provoke him, acts cold to see if he'll chase, he doesn't break. He doesn't crumble. He doesn't crumble. He doesn't trade his truth for her affection. He challenges her heart by standing in his own. And that is when she feels something she doesn't feel with any other man. Not attention, not validation, but reverence. She feels the presence of a man who cannot be moved, who is not here to impress, but to awaken. She'll resist it at first. She'll argue, doubt, test and fight, but deep down, something will begin to stir, a sacred rage turning into surrender. Because for the first time, she's not in control. And she's not afraid, she's safe here. Safe to soften, safe to trust, safe to finally stop pretending she has to lead everything. Because now, she's standing before a man who won't bow to her moods, who won't trade his soul for her love, who won't let her stay small. He doesn't want to win her heart. He wants to win her heart. He wants to awaken it. He wants to awaken, and in doing so, he becomes the one man she cannot forget, the one man she cannot manipulate, cannot mold, cannot move, because he's not standing in her world. He's inviting her into his, and that is where real love begins. The moment you can walk away is when she finally comes close. Let this truth echo in the deepest part of you. A woman does not fall for the man who needs her. She falls for the man who doesn't fear losing her. Need is heavy, need is magnetic, but only in the wrong way. It pulls her not into your heart, but into a position of control. And when she feels you can't live without her, that your sense of worth, your fire, your mission now revolve around her mood, her love, her approval, she starts to pull back. Not because she's cruel, but because your need has become a weight she was never meant to carry. A weight she was never meant to carry. Because deep down, every powerful, conscious woman is watching for this. Will he trade his soul just to stay beside me? If the answer is yes, she'll never fully respect you. She may stay, she may stay, she may smile. But her feminine heart will never bow to a man who won't stand on his own 2 feet. But when she feels, truly feels, that you can walk away, that you won't chase, beg or bleed just to stay in her life, that your love is real, but not enslaved, that's when she starts to come closer. Because walking away isn't about rejection. It's about self-respect. It's about saying, I love you, but I love myself more than the game. I see your beauty, but I won't be caged by your chaos. I feel this connection, but I will not lose my path to keep it alive. And in that moment, you become free. And in that moment, you become free. Not cold, not detached, but free from the fear of losing her. And that's when you become magnetic, not to her body, but to her devotion. Because the feminine cannot open fully to a man who is clinging, she wants to know, if I test him, will he hold? If I pull away, will he chase? If I threaten to leave, will he abandon himself just to keep me? And when the answer is no, when you look her in the eyes and stay in your truth, when you're willing to let her go rather than betray your essence, she feels something no man has given her before. Safety. Not the safety of comfort, but the safety of strength. Now she can rest. Now she can stop controlling. Now she can finally surrender. Not to your affection, but to your integrity. The man who can walk away is the man who doesn't need her to stay. And that's exactly the kind of man a woman chooses to follow, because when you no longer chase love, you become it. When you no longer beg for her, you call her forth. You call her forth. When you are no longer afraid to lose her, you finally give her a reason to stay. So remember this with every breath. Her heart is not earned by your dependence. It is opened by your freedom, and sometimes your greatest power as a man is not in how deeply you hold on, but in how willing you are to walk away, not out of bitterness, not out of ego, but out of truth. And when you stand in that truth with no fear, no clinging, no pretending, that's when she looks at you and chooses you freely, wholly, forever. So now you understand, this isn't about games. This isn't about strategy. This isn't about saying the right words or playing the perfect part. This is about power, not over her, but within yourself, because a woman A real woman will only fall for the man who dares to stand where most men collapse. Most men collapse. She will only open for the man who doesn't seek to please her, but to pierce through her fears, through her illusions, through her walls. She will only follow a man who stops chasing her emotions and starts leading her through them. She will only trust the man who breaks the pedestal, who sees not the goddess she pretends to be, but the raw, sacred, messy human she truly is, and loves her there. She will only soften for the man whose silence is stronger than her noise, whose gaze holds her when she's lost in chaos, whose breath drowns her when her world is spinning. She will only surrender to the man who doesn't try to win her heart, but challenges it. Challenges her, who holds her to a higher truth, even if it cost him her comfort. That's what love is, not ease, not flattery, not escape, but awakening. And if you want a love that is divine, if you want a woman to respect you, to trust you, to open to you in body, heart, and spirit, then stop asking what she wants and start becoming the man her soul remembers. Become the mirror, the mountain, the flame, the silence, the truth. Because when you rise into your fullness, when you stop chasing her and start leading yourself, when you stop needing her and start embodying purpose, she will love you. Not because you convinced her, not because you pleased her, not because you gave her everything she asked for, but because you broke her, you shattered the illusion, you tore through the performance, you destroyed the mask. You destroyed the mask. And in the wreckage of her ego, in the stillness after the storm, she looked up and saw you, unmoved, unshaken, unapologetically you. And in that moment, she knew, this is not a man I can control. This is not a man I can bend. This is not a man I can bend. This is not a man I must rise beside. So let the world keep selling comfort, flattery, and games. But you walk the path of the awakened masculine. You walk with purpose, with fire, with love that burns clean through the lie. Because in the end, she will only love you if you dare to break her. And only the strongest love can break what was never real to reveal what always was.